What might Bernie Sanders' America look like? Hi, thank you for tuning into the Teal Jack channel. My name is Todd. I greatly appreciate you coming today to watch one of my videos. It really does mean a lot to me. What I've got for you today is something that's been going through my mind lately, and that's what would the United States look like should Bernie Sanders ultimately get elected to the United States presidency. And I'm going to start off by a quote he made on The View sometime, it looked like around September of 2019. And this is Bernie Sanders. "We have got to do everything to end gun violence." Now, is it really gun violence that we should be ending? Is gun violence really the big problem in the United States? I don't think so. Is it an issue? Yes. But how bad is it? And when you start looking at the FBI numbers, it's not as bad as you might think. But let's just say it's there. And I think we could potentially do more to prevent it, to curtail it. But gun control is not the way to go about it. But let me read on. "Good news is that American people, by and large, want to pass strong gun safety legislation." Really? I know a whole large population in the United States that says the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms and it should not be infringed. A very large majority of Americans don't want the government involved in any gun regulation at all, because in our view, including my own, it's a violation of our Second Amendment to have any laws written that could affect our ability to own and operate a firearm within the United States. So let's just assume he's right, which I don't believe he is. I personally believe this is a generalization that is completely wrong, because there is a large majority of the U.S. that stands up for your right to bear arms. And more people, by the way, agree with the position I have had for a long time that we should ban the sale and distribution of assault weapons. So Bernie Sanders' definition of an assault weapon is basically any black rifle, anything that looks bad, anything that looks like a military firearm is what I would consider that Bernie Sanders holds to what an assault weapon is. And that includes the AR-15, which as you can see is unloaded. This is my own personal one. He'll call this an assault weapon. It's not fully automatic, it's semi-automatic. It fires one round at a time with each pull of the trigger. Just as this does. Semi-automatic, one pull of the trigger, one shot. And so he considers the AR-15, the AK-47, an assault weapon or an assault rifle. But what is an assault? Do you realize that more people are killed every single year from blunt trauma, i.e. a baseball bat, some sort of clubbing device, including fists, than people die from firearms? But we're not about to put a ban on assault bats, or we're not going to call them an assault bat or a hammer. We're not going to call it an assault hammer. But we're willing to call any firearm, like an AR-15, that looks like a military weapon, and we're going to call it an assault rifle. Now let me explain something to you. In the firearm community, an assault rifle typical definition is one that's fully automatic. That means you pull the trigger in and it will keep firing rounds off till the magazine goes empty. By the way, it is called a magazine, not a clip, a magazine. And so he wants to ban all assault weaponry. So one of those things that goes along with their, and I'm going to say their at this point, the leftist ban on assault weapons, is they don't like high capacity magazines. They don't like 30 rounders. In this case, this is a 30 round magazine for the AR-15. Here's a 20 round magazine. This fits inside my FN57. This is my first generation FN57, shoots the 5.7 by 28. This is the magazine for it. Holds 20 rounds. They want to ban this one also. They basically want you to be down to 10 rounds. Now, can we do something with 10 rounds? Sure, we can protect ourselves with 10 rounds. But you tell me where in our Second Amendment does it say you're limited to a single shot rifle and you can't have 30 rounds. And you're not going to find it. They also don't want you to own this gun because they say it's too powerful. We shouldn't have those powerful weapons in the hands of civilians, you will hear them say. Yet this rifle right here is more powerful than the AR-15 when you look at round-wise. This shoots the .223, this shoots the 8mm Mauser. This is my World War II K98 used by the Germans in World War II. This round is more devastating than my AR-15. Yet I don't hear them calling a ban on this one. Why? Well, probably because it's a bolt action. And it only has 5 rounds at maximum. It can't be shot continuously, semi-automatic, because it is a lever action. And so they look at these guns and they say, well, yeah, you could own one of these. But they don't want you to own the AR-15. But there's a big long list of guns that these Democrats don't want you to own in their gun ban. Just look them up. AK-47, Styrog, AR-15, the list is long. M14, the list carries on. So that's Bernie Sanders America. Lack of freedom to own the firearm that you desire to own. And that we have a constitutional right to own. So we have that right to own any weapon under our Constitution that we choose to own. And that includes if I want to go buy a Sherman tank, an M4 Sherman from World War II. I have a right to go buy it. I should have that right to go buy it. I shouldn't have to file paperwork with the ATF because the gun in it is a destructive device. It's our constitutional right. It's granted to us under the Second Amendment. Just read it. You know, the one thing that really troubles me about Bernie Sanders and company, all the liberal socialist Democrats that are running that are crying for gun control, and what really troubles me about them is the fact that they don't want you to have your AR-15, your assault rifles, and yet they surround themselves every single day with people who I guarantee you are carrying something more than just a pistol. And if not the ones directly with them, there's somebody nearby that is protecting these people with a, should we say, a more powerful weapon than a handgun. That's what troubles me. They don't want you to protect yourself, but they will protect themselves with people with firearms all the time. And that to me is hypocrisy at Now, best. The second thing I want to talk about with Bernie Sanders America is this Medicaid for all he keeps pitching. Now, this Medicaid for all is going to do several things to us here in the U.S. One, I've got a strong feeling we're going to become like Canada. Now, you will hear him pitching how wonderful it is that you can have a heart attack in Canada and you can go get medical care and you'll get out of the hospital and have no bill. Whereas here in the U.S., you'll have a heart attack, you'll go in, you'll get treated, and you'll come out, and usually you'll have a bill of some sort, that which insurance doesn't cover. Excuse me. But I want to tell you something. I used to do medical flights. Back in the 90s, the late 90s, I did medical flights for a company out of Medford. And we would oftentimes fly down to Arizona, California, basically the southern end of the country. And we would pick up Canadians, and almost every one of them that I picked up was having a heart attack. They were having a full-blown active heart attack. And time means tissue death. So these people are not being treated here in the U.S. other than basic life support, i.e. usually on nitro drip and morphine. But they're not actually getting surgery to solve the clot problem that's causing the heart attack. They're not being taken in and having a stent put in within 90 minutes of being brought into the door. They're being set in bed and they're waiting for a flight to show up to fly them back to Canada. And on one case that I did, we flew down to Corona, California. In one case, I flew down to California, just below Sacramento. And we landed in our Lear, which I flew on a Lear 35. We landed the Lear, and we sat at the airport for 5 hours waiting for the doctor at the hospital to say, yeah, the patient's stable, and you guys can come pick him up and fly him up to Canada now. The problem is he's having a heart attack. And as I explained to the doctor on the phone, how is him staying in your room in the hospital where you're not doing surgery going to stabilize him more than if I fly him up to Canada where he might receive treatment? And ultimately the doctor agreed with me and let me have him, and I flew him up to Canada. But here's the thing. You might think as soon as I got him to Canada, he was instantly rolled in and they put a stent in. No, that's not what happened. In fact, the guy who helped me take the patient off the gurney was the doctor who was going to be treating him. I actually thought he was an orderly because I thought it was strange that a doctor is assisting moving a patient over to the bed. And the doctor told me the reason he's doing that is because of the Canadian healthcare system. They have a limited number of nurses and CNAs available. So doctors oftentimes do a lot of work that a nurse or a CNA would do. And so in this case, he's in the room and he's assisting moving the patient into bed. And so I asked the doctor before I left, how soon are you getting him into the OR and getting the stent put in? And he told me, well, he's on a waiting list. Really? Well, how long is that waiting list? Well, we're going to keep him in this bed for at least 6 weeks and keep him stable, and then he's scheduled to go in about 6 weeks. So I flew him up to Canada where he wasn't allowed to be treated here and get a stent done, which would have solved his heart attack. And I fly him up to Canada for him to wait 6 weeks in a hospital bed, waiting to have a stent put in. Meanwhile, he's still having a heart attack. He's still having chest pain. The whole time I flew him in flight, he was having massive chest pain. Why? Because he's getting chest pain because the heart's not getting enough oxygen, thus it's killing heart tissue. And that's what Bernie Sanders' America will give to us. His health care for all. I guarantee you we're going to have waiting lists. You may walk out with no bill, but you might have to wait to get your MRI or to get your stent or to get your bypass surgery. And the list just goes on what you might have to wait for. But yeah, you're right. You won't have a bill when you walk out, according to Bernie Sanders. The other side that this is going to do, Bernie Sanders America, is he's going to increase your taxes. Now, you will hear him pitch that you're not having to pay for your medical insurance, and you're not having co-pays to pay, you're not having premiums to be paid, and that might be true. But he's also going to suck money out of your pocket to help pay for this government-funded health care. Now, the other side to the coin is you will hear him at times saying, no, I am not for government control of health care. Yet he constantly says he's for Medicaid for all. No, I'm not for government control of health care, I'm for Medicaid for all. But what is Medicaid? Government-controlled health care. So right there, he's lying to you up front. And I also heard him one time state that everybody who makes over $29,000 will see their taxes go up because we've got to pay for this system somehow. Now let's look at something else he wants to do. Bernie Sanders is on board the bill that I discussed not so long ago. I believe it was House Bill 5383, which would basically put an end to our borders and allow all sorts of felons to come across our border to come into our country. We're not going to deport people for committing crimes in our country. It's going to be basic anarchy, upper border, open border stuff. Crossing the border illegally would no longer be illegal under this bill. And he is for that bill. And in fact, he wants amnesty for all 22 illegal immigrants living in our country today. And again, I believe that push for amnesty of this 22 million is to hope that they will forever have control of the voting population in the United States and a conservative voice will never be heard again. And that's Bernie Sanders America. He also wants, which to me would be a good thing. Yeah, I wouldn't mind not having a student loan anymore. But how's he going to pay for it? How's he going to cover my costs of my student loan? Great, you're right. Taxes, increased taxes. And he wants free college for everyone. How's that going to be paid for? Financially, it doesn't seem even feasibly possible. And it looks like between his free college for all, covering up and getting rid of your student loans, and Medicare for all, we don't have enough money taken in taxes to cover all of that. So how is he going to pay for all this? That is my big question. And I believe Bernie Sanders America is going to look just like this. You go out and you work your 40-hour work week. And let's just say you make $15 an hour. And you go out and you work your 40-hour week and you get paid $15 for each one of those hours. And you in turn are going to turn every last dime, cent, and penny over to Bernie Sanders, under which he will divide it up amongst all Americans, and then he'll give you some of it back. And then we will end up in situations like the Soviet Union, where your upper tier people of the Soviet Party, of the Communist Party, they live in lap of luxury and everybody lives in complete poverty. We will become like Venezuela, where Hugo Chavez lives in the lap of luxury and everyone else is struggling to feed their family. They're eating rats on the street. They're killing their pets because there's no food in the stores. And they don't have the funds to pay for it when it is there. And I believe that's what we're going to see under Bernie Sanders America. So my pledge for you today is, please think about your vote. Think wisely. Think wisely on who you're voting for. And please consider where that vote goes and what might become if that person actually gets put into office. So that's my pitch for you today. I thank you again for watching one of my videos. I greatly appreciate it. Please take care of yourself. God bless. And remember, the gun doesn't kill people. It's the people that do. And if you want to end gun violence, we need to control the people who are the criminals. And gun laws don't affect the criminals. It only affects the law-abiding citizen. Keep that in mind. Take care. God bless. We'll talk to you next time. Hey, thank you very much for tuning into the Teal Jack channel. It means so much to me. If you like my content, I just ask that you would hit like and subscribe. If you click on this link up here, it will send you right to my subscribe page. And please take a look at some of my other videos. I'll post them here down below here. And thanks once more for tuning in. I'm so appreciative of the people that spend time to watch my videos. Take care. God bless. Have a wonderful day.